All right, I've kicked off a print about 10 minutes ago of a test piece to test for fitment. It's simple enough that I'm actually just using it for testing a couple of settings. I really want to get to the point where I can use basically the lowest amount of infill possible at the highest rate of speed without sacrificing quality. And for the Robo3D R1 Plus that I own, my settings are going to be different than somebody else with a different printer. So I want to know what those settings are for my particular printer. And I have a firm belief that even the same printer, somebody else might own it, and their machine might be slightly different, so they might require some different settings. So one Robo user might have a little bit different settings than me. But anyway, so I'm testing a 200-degree extruder or hot end temperature, 6,000 millimeters per minute speed. And for this particular print, I'm trying the grid infill pattern. I usually do fast honeycomb, but doing some reading on Simplify 3D's website, which is the slicer I use, they actually talk about their fast honeycomb setting being, infill pattern being incomplete by design. I'm thinking about sending an email or posting on the forums and getting a little bit more detail about that. But what ends up happening is the top layers, since they don't have a complete infill to lay on, the top layers are just turning out like garbage. So I want to get around that. Obviously, it's unacceptable, and I don't like waking up in the morning with a garbage-looking print. So we're going to dial the settings in and see what this printer can do. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this finish, and we'll go over the results once it's done. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, and this one I'm printing right now will make 7 prints of this exact same model with different settings. And you can kind of see some of the different ones that I've set up and gone through. So stick around, and we'll be back in a bit. We're still printing, but I wanted to go ahead and bring up the support page on Simplify 3D to go over what I referenced earlier in the video about the fast honeycomb setting, because I have a feeling people will maybe disagree or just have more questions about it. So I think my wording a little bit earlier was slightly incorrect. The exact verbiage they use is the fast honeycomb may sacrifice some strength for faster printing speeds, which makes sense, right? If you're going to try to print super fast, that performance is going to have a con somewhere. So this site is, by the way, fantastic if you're trying to troubleshoot any kind of 3D printing issues. Even if you don't use Simplify 3D, it's actually a fantastic site to go to. A lot of the things will apply no matter what slicer you're using. Their recommendations of settings changes, however, will not apply if you're using something like Cura or Matter Control or something else. But it's still just a really fantastic resource, and I highly encourage you to check it out. So I went to the weak infill section because the top layers of the test prints that I've made, like I said earlier, they're garbage. And what's happening is anywhere there's a pocket of air, the extrusion is not taking hold. And I already know my printer can bridge very well. So I'm just going through, like I said, some of these settings to see what I can do to fix this problem without increasing my infill. As I mentioned, that was my goal, is to keep a minimum infill, especially for things that just don't need infill, or things I want to print fast but still have a good layer height. So here they're talking about lowering the print speed. Well, that might be great for fixing the issue. That doesn't help me with my goal of increasing my print speed. The other thing that they mention is changing the pattern of infill that you use, which is what I did, because honestly, I've noticed a little bit of speed increase from fast honeycomb, but not really that much. If I have to switch to grid and it solves my problem, then I'm totally fine with that. You don't see it anyways, so don't really care. But anyway, so yeah, this site is fantastic, and I'll add a link in the description for anybody that might want to check it out. And by all means, send me a message or comment on the video if you want to ask me any questions.
Okay, let's go ahead and review some of the printing results that we've had. The last test didn't go near as well as what I wanted, but I'm not afraid to show the failures on this channel. I basically want everybody to see all the mistakes and just as well as all the successes, because I feel that failures are just as important as they're a good opportunity to learn something. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the frame all the various prints that I've done. And obviously you can already tell one of those is much better than the other. I haven't flipped them over yet either. Whoop. As I said earlier, I've been printing a lot of these. Alright, so I put notes on all of these, which ones I've printed at, for example, 200 degrees on the extruder, 210, 195, so on and so forth. I've marked the speed as well, so we have 3,600 millimeters per minute, 6,000, one of these, yeah, this one was 5,000. Just as a test. So the other, all of these, except for these two, were fast honeycomb. These two specifically, this one was the full honeycomb setting in Simplify 3D, and this one was grid. So now I'm going to go ahead and flip these over, give you kind of an idea. So this one was just absolute garbage on both sides. It didn't even work enough to adhere on the bed. So obviously 195 is too cool for the Robo PLA. And yeah, there's how awful it looks. So some of my other non-test prints have been having this depending on the model. And so that's partly why I'm going through all of this, to figure out what are the settings I need to use given the model. So I figure if I can at least figure out the most simplest kind of model first, then I can work off of this and apply what I've learned to the other models that are obviously going to be a lot more complex than just a simple cube. So there's not much to learn from this other than the temperature is just not enough. Dimensionally, as far as the hole here and the sides and the edges and the corners, it all looks fine, but honestly it's pretty easy to do in a Robo. The pieces do come apart fairly well, and the sides, they look fine. There was some warpage here on the corners, which is a little bit interesting, but I think it's just because printing at such a low temperature, with the heated bed, it cooled down too much as it was being laid down on the bed, and it lifted. So overall, this one is just garbage. So 195, not enough. And I believe I printed, let's see here, I believe this was the next one that I printed. Order doesn't necessarily matter here, but this one was 200 temperature for 200 degrees temperature for the extruder, 3,600 millimeters per minute. And this one definitely came out better on top than the 195, but obviously still not good. So if we look around, overall dimensional accuracy and corners, all of that looks good. Now the one improvement that I do see versus the 195 degree is the corners. They look very good, very flat, no lift, no warping. But obviously the top is junk. Now this one's still a little rough. It does spin a little bit, and it does go through. I feel like if I would maybe sand the edges a little bit, it would be fine. But you know, so we're getting better, right? But the bigger question is, was it because we dropped the speed, or was it because we increased the temperature? And I normally don't like to try two changes at once, because then you don't know which one actually gave you a better result. So the next one I did was this guy here. So this was 200 degrees, so same temp as the last one I just showed, but I went back to 6,000 millimeters per minute. And honestly, as far as the ability to rotate and the cleanliness of this hole, it's actually really good. I think this one turned out the best from all these other ones. That being said, as far as the lift on the corners, the bottom layer, all that stuff, pretty much the same. So what that tells me is the speed increase from 3,600 to 6,000 millimeters per minute doesn't really degrade quality, which I thought was interesting, because a lot of people recommend no more than 60 millimeters per second for the Robo. So yeah, this is pretty nice. Obviously, other than the top layer, I'm happy with a lot of the other pieces of this, and the fact that with a potential better infill percentage, I'll be able to print at this speed. So that was that one. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll try a higher temperature. Maybe the top layer, the extrusion isn't sticking very well because it's breaking from the fan cooling as the filament's being laid down. So I thought perhaps a higher temperature would allow it to have more of a fluid consistency and lay a nice solid bead down over these holes. Because again, the goal of this is to use the least amount of infill. And for this model, I forgot to say, for all of these, 10% infill was used. And we're still on the honeycomb on this one. So still garbage. And actually, I think that 210 degrees is not actually that great for dimensional accuracy. The model that I downloaded from Thingiverse, which will be down in the description, doesn't really make any notes of how smooth this is supposed to be, but I'm assuming the constraints are tight, but obviously should allow this piece to go through with ease. And that's just not the case. So my gut is saying that it's this top ring and maybe this outline here that are causing it to jam up some. So anyways, 210, no. So I did try one more 210 on the extruder, but I did a slower speed, and I'm not sure that this was related to the settings. It could have just been the bed not being able to hold the temperature consistently enough, or maybe something on the bed was not allowing it to hear correctly, because you can kind of see it's got some pitting and some banding where it looks like the layers were not, I'm sorry, each extrusion line was not melting in with the others. So you get this kind of not a very good look compared to even this last one. I mean, if we zoom in close on this, it looks much better. I mean, it's even kind of got a glass finish on it from the bed. This one, not so much, which is really weird because this is slower. You would think that it would be, more smooth, but not the case. Sides, though, on this one at 5,000, the sides look great. Corners, fine. Very, very small amount of lift. But overall looks good, except for, again, the top layer is just garbage. So still on honeycomb, 10% infill, and still garbage. So this was the one I printed after reading the troubleshooting guide on Simplify 3D. And this is the one I showed you earlier in the video, where they mentioned that fast honeycomb is not necessarily the best for strength, which in my head I kind of translated that to perhaps it also wasn't very good for bridging over top. So obviously when I switched this to full honeycomb instead of the fast, I expected much better results. The bottom looks good, corners good, little bit of warping there, but I don't think that's a problem with the settings. But yeah, so full honeycomb didn't help, and you can even see down in there that the infill walls have gaps in them. So hard to say what the problem is there. Still, again, trying to dial in this kind of extreme setting of the least amount of infill at the highest speed. I should say that normally when I print things, I go a little heavy on infill, heavy on the shells, and run 6 top and bottom layers, and my prints come out looking real nice. I mean, for example, everybody's printed one of these. It's one of the puzzle cylinders, and you can see the top layer, no problems. So my printer definitely can print just fine. It's just I'm playing with these settings. So here's my last print that I at the beginning of this video I was talking about and waiting to complete. This one is 200 degrees extrusion temperature, and the speed is 6,000 millimeters per minute, and I use the grid infill pattern that I typically haven't used just because you see the word fast and fast honeycomb, you think, oh yeah, that's fast, let's do that. Don't really think it's any better, honestly. So a couple things that I've learned is speed don't seem to make a difference to this particular problem. Temperature definitely does if we bring the 195 back in. I mean, it's just the infill's incomplete. It's just garbage. But other than that, I think that it's time to increase the infill percentage of the next test print of this. So that's what I'm going to do. And if you follow me on Instagram and Twitter and check out the website, I'll continue with an article on this piece. And if enough people want me to make another video to cover what I learned at the end of this adventure, I'll do that. But I'm a new channel, so who knows? Probably nobody will comment enough to get another video out. But maybe I'll learn something really crazy and I'll want to share it with you guys. So that's it for now. I'm going to keep printing different versions of this with different settings, and like I said, I'll be putting an article out on the site 3dlayers.com, and that's layers with a Z, for everybody to go and check out and see what settings I ended up with to get my goal of fast print times, least amount of infill, with good quality, because this isn't going to cut it. Thanks for stopping by and watching the video. If you do like this content, feel free to subscribe and like the video, all that junk. Otherwise, just leave a comment saying hi, and feel free to ask any questions. And hope to see you around and have you check out more videos. Thanks.